Hey everybody, this is Perch. It's King in Black. This is the event that Marvel has been pushing and hyping for what feels like a very long time. Basically, since Absolute Carnage came out, there was this tease that this event would be coming. We had a little pandemic, which slowed some things down and everything else, but here we are. I was tempted to I want to do this contest, not now, but at some point. Help me out in the comments. The most clickbaity title ever. That I can put on the little graphic. Just I want to make fun of clickbait because I'm seeing a lot of articles and things written that are the most ridiculously stupid coverage. It's like review of King in Black, like what major hero gets killed? Find out inside. I hate that stuff. At any rate, we got to start making fun of it. That's our team. That's our team here. We're a group. We're gonna do it together. Anyway, King in Black by Donny, Ryan Stegman, and team. We've got a bunch of different people on this book. It's the road here certainly went through Absolute Carnage. It has been what Donny Cates has been building to with Venom for quite some time. If you're coming in new and you have been following along with Venom, you might be surprised to see Eddie Brock basically. With the Avengers hotline and being able to kind of marshal all these forces and all the rest. I don't think we quite got the transition to the Marvel Universe accepting Eddie Brock that maybe Donny and other people think that we did. It's weird to see him kind of jumping in and just being able to marshal all the heroes on that side. A lot of that groundwork was built in Absolute Carnage, but it's one of those kind of jarring moments to suddenly see Eddie Brock with this kind of pull in the Marvel Universe, but that's fine. It is what it is. A word about this event, kind of before we get into it. It is, in many ways, this is an event comic. This is truly an event comic. It reminds you of event comics back 20 years ago or so. It is that feel. There's parts of it that don't necessarily make heavy amounts of sense. It doesn't go into a deconstruction of the heroes. It doesn't spend a lot of time going to the psychology of what's going on. This is like the Michael Bay movie of comic books. It is action. We get to the action very, very rapidly. They waste no time. Basically, by page 6, stuff's blowing up. And this whole event moves at a very, very quick, very frantic pace, and that's a good thing. Honestly, I think the events have kind of lost their way where the writers want to tell kind of some bit of a meta story, but they want to have the benefit of the sales bump of the event, whereas this one just goes for action. That's the point. Should you be worried or confused why suddenly Storm and Wolverine and the mutants are working side by side with the heroes when things are not necessarily on good terms with them? Yeah, you don't worry about it, is the answer. Just don't worry about it. That's kind of where we get to here. And it works. I think if all the comics were this way, it would make absolutely no sense. But if you compare it to Empire, if you compare it to Death Metal, there's a lot of people are going to make comparisons to Death Metal with King in Black because it has the same kind of giant threat, black, darkness is everywhere, and the heroes are outmanned. It's gonna, but the difference is, whereas Death Metal, I think, attempts to believe it's more than what it is. It wants to tell a bigger story about storytelling and continuity in the multiverse and kind of timelines, and it's trying to spin a lot of plates. This one is, hey, we've got giant goo monsters and they're screwing up New York. There you go. I just there's sometimes stories should be simple, and I think it works for this event. If you are a big fan of comics like Watchmen or a lot of the indie comics, a lot of things that are really deconstruction of heroes, this isn't for you. But chances are you knew that coming in. At any rate, our comic opens up. Eddie Brock is marshaling the Avengers. He knows that Knull is coming. There's this bit where all the stars are basically blinking out because this giant Knull wave of dragons is coming in. Unfortunately, we don't see that. They talk about it, but the action's all centered more down toward the city. One of the things that is a negative to this book, by the way, as we go through it, is that the coloring is at times very muddy. It's there. I don't know if it was a printing issue or anything, because Frank Martin, who's our coloring artist, is a good color artist. But somewhere between Ryan Stegman, who does a great job on art, stuff looks very dynamic and punchy, to the inker J.P. Mayer, to Frank Martin, somewhere in that process, things break down a little bit. It's just not as sharp a looking book where the colors and all that stuff's concerned as you would expect, and especially compared to some other books out this week. I do the review of Erratic later. Very different book, very small book, but the pictures, everything is much sharper. And keep in mind, the fault is not Ryan Stegman. I mean, that he has really dynamic pages and everything, but there's a muddiness to the way the pages come out that is a little surprising for such a big event that, in theory, had extra time. You would think that would come out. So, at any rate, our comic comes in. The Avengers are ready for this. They've been planning. Tony Stark's got some bombs as this kind of bat monster symbiote wave comes in. They utilize a lot of the abandoned ships from the Kree Skrull assembly for Empire and basically turn them into bombs, blow them up, and it's super not successful in that it take out maybe 100 of these symbiote creatures, but there are hundreds of thousands. And so they descend on New York and presumably the world. Eddie quickly goes and locks his son Dylan in the freezer. Dylan doesn't really want to. We get a little, 616 passcode. If you ever got into the Marvel Universe, you would just use 616 for everything, and you'd have access to like Reed Richards' lab and everything. But there again, you get some images that are a little rough of Eddie as he's sealing his son away to be safe. The son does not want to be sealed away, as no son do. What's really crappy about this is like there's no switch down there, nothing for. There's not even a couch. It's this big metal room. It sucks. At any rate, up on the surface, the Avengers are trying desperately to use all the tools at their disposal, lightning powers and other things, cosmic powers, magical powers, to try and defeat this horde. But it is not working. They're fighting. They're stopping one or two characters here, but nothing is really working. Thor is not around, and they keep talking about where's Thor? We need to get Thor in here. What's going on with Thor? And this is presumably, the interesting part is, are we supposed to understand that the whole Donald Blake Prey storyline currently going on in Thor is happening kind of at the same time? That's a little unclear of where is Thor. Thor is just not around, but in theory, Thor would help a lot with his lightning powers and other things, and he's a god of thunder, so that's all good stuff. One nice note, by the way, in all this is that this week, this same day, we got the big twist, and this is spoiler for Daredevil, that Elektra is going to be temporarily taking on the mantle of Daredevil. And sure enough, they've got Elektra drawn in as Daredevil in this comic, and that is some damn good coordination. It's shocking that you've got that level of coordination. But at any rate, they're getting defeated. Eddie goes down to kind of hook into the old hive chair, the spire that was left over from Carnage's assault on New York. He's hoping that he can connect to the hive, to this giant fleet, and make his own army. But he quickly discovers that is not going to work, and the not only are there bat dragon like things that are coming down. We've got a number of Knull possessed symbiotes of Celestials. We've got giant the Celestials that have been consumed by Knull and taken over, and so they also land and start just messing stuff up. And then we get the emergence of Knull. Now, at this point, we're about halfway through the issue, not quite halfway, and like I said, stuff's moving along at a very rapid pace, which is nice. Many events lately would take 6 issues to get to this point, but Knull basically arrives, says, "I'm going to kill the world and bring me Brock." And he is basically there is no there's no stopping this guy. Captain America pulls out his trump card, or a surprise, and basically in a kind of a surprise reveal, the Sentry shows up, blows through the head of one of the Celestials, angers Knull. The two fly off into space. Sentry's like, this will all be over in a second. I've got this taken care of. But Knull pulls a siege on him and basically rips him apart. Bob the Sentry saying, don't do this, it's going to release the void. And Knull's like, nope, I'm the void. All darkness bows to me, and I am all powerful. That's an early big moment that is meant to be as shocking, but it just underlines the fact that, everybody is hopelessly outclassed here. Knull unleashes a bunch of goo out of the ground, and the Avengers, everybody seems to drown in it. And from there, Knull creates a black goo ball that covers the entire Earth and basically wraps it in a symbiotic dome. And so I like how, the Storm's talking to Tony, like, I'm getting reports from Wakanda, Latvernia, Japan. Like, I don't think Doctor Doom's checking in on this, but maybe, I don't know. At any rate, the heroes are falling one by one. Storm gets basically taken out, and Eddie knows what he has to do. There's only one thing he can do, is he's got to face Knull one-on-one, which is not going to work, but okay. So he knows that he's making peace. He's going to go do this. It's unclear what the point of it is. Knull has already said, I'm going to kill off your whole world and bring me Eddie. So it's not like Eddie going to see him is going to stop anything. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense in that regard, but it's a hero moment. This is what I mean by it's an action comic. It's not meant to necessarily make genius level sense here, but he goes up to visit Knull. Knull, basically says, I'm sacrificing myself. Eddie says, I'm going to sacrifice myself. Knull says, hey, that's cool and all, but you're the wrong Brock. I wanted the kid Brock, not the grown-up Brock. He rips the Venom symbiote off of Eddie, leaving him in his boxer shorts, and just chucks him off the building and down toward the ground. And that's our comic. It's a very quick comic in the sense of actually there's more to it, I suppose. There's some data sheets at the back, but these data sheets go over, they remind you who Knull is, the Necro Sword, all these different pieces that have been introduced. And we get a little timeline here as well, which is quite nice, actually. It's helpful. I probably would have put these at the beginning of the comic personally, but it doesn't really matter. And then, of course, we have our checklist for all the different tie-ins and other things, which are basically going to be heroes fighting in goo. The challenge is that this comic really does a good job of setting up the fact that the heroes have no hope. They're outclassed at every turn. There's no chance of them being able to beat this guy. So when you get things like the Black Cat tie-in, Black Cat just gets annihilated. I mean, but they'll find ways to have these characters have their hero moments, despite the fact that Knull is basically kicking all of their ass. So that's going to be a little weird how it plays out, and so some of these tie-ins I think will feel a little bit awkward. But all in all, this is an easy comic to review and recommend in the sense of, if you like nice art, and there's going to be a lot of comparisons again to Stegman and Capullo as well. These comics, I guarantee over the next month or so, you're going to see a lot of King in Black versus Death Metal comparisons. There's a lot of similarities to them, but there's a lot of obvious differences as well. It looks nice. Like I said, the coloring, something's off with the coloring and how the pages will come together. But in general, if you like seeing kind of all the Marvel heroes in one comic, fighting impossible odds, and the villain, and we know they're going to be successful. We know that Knull is not going to murder off everybody and then the Marvel universe just ends and we're all done. We know that they're going to find a way to beat him. We'll have the arrival of Thor from the solicitations, looks like issue 3. And so it is, in many ways, you can compare this to Empire, you compare this to Ten of Swords. This comic delivers what it claims it's going to deliver. It's mayhem. It's, heroes fighting unstoppable villain. How will they win? Lots of destruction, stuff going on. It's not, it's not this deconstructed analysis of Eddie Brock's relationship with his son. We do see that in a page or two, but we're not getting like 3 comics of it. We're not getting a big mission to gather swords. We're not getting multiverse shenanigans. And so it is if you like straightforward action type comics, event comics, then you're going to like what you paid for. It's going to fit you. If you like more cerebral comics, if you like ones that are more of a slow burn, if you like, these kinds of deconstructions of heroes, if you like that kind of stuff, then this comic's going to seem like popcorn to you. It's going to feel kind of hollow. So it's what you're after as a consumer, as a customer. The nice part about this, and the reason I would certainly give this a thumbs up and a recommendation, is the sense that it advertises what it is correctly, and it delivers what it advertises. So if you pick this up and you're like, well, I don't understand, I was looking for a psychological deconstruction of the Marvel Universe. Well, you're crazy, because there's no indication you're getting that, and you don't. So it's nice to have that straightforward. Here's a comic. Here's what you're going to get, and here it is. It's just nice to have that clean nature. So it's a solid book. It's an action book. It's one of those titles that 10 years from now may or may not be one of those big remembered titles. It's going to sell very well in the moment, and then we'll move on to Absolute Carnage 3, the Carnage Boogaloo, whatever it happens to be after that. Everything. It's a wheel, and the wheel turns. That's what Hickman says anyway. Let me know if you got this issue. Did you love it? Did you hate it? What do you think? Good parts, bad parts, you name it. Let me know in the comments below. Like, subscribe. If you haven't subscribed yet, why not? It's okay. It won't hurt you. Click the bell for notifications if you want to be bothered. But most importantly, thanks for listening.